2006, Hermosillo, Sonora. A red Lamborghini, reduced to ashes, sits in a junkyard, seemingly beyond repair. No one suspects that hidden inside are horrifying images, but also the only clue to save many other women. Could you ever imagine that an old film reel could change someone's destiny? This story begins with an abandoned car and ends deep within human memory. 2016, Hermosillo, Sonora. The outside temperature reaches 109 degrees Fahrenheit, 43 degrees Celsius. The concrete in the parking lot behind the auto repair shop starts to crack in fine, spiderweb-like lines. Mateo Vargas, 37, a mechanic specializing in car tuning, has just dropped his wrench, wipes his hands on his shirt, and listens to the screech of a crane cable. The car from La Cruz salvage junkyard slowly descends. It's a Lamborghini Gallardo, at least 10 years old. But what surprises Mateo is how a car like this ends up forgotten among the scrap metal. When he went to pick it up at La Cruz this morning, the yard manager, an old man named Hector, just shook his head. Wrecked car. They left it here about 10 years ago. It's got a destruction order on it for legal reasons. But last week, someone signed a new request saying dismantling authorized. We don't ask any questions. Mateo isn't one to get mixed up in trouble. He's used to cutting, welding, assembling, and doesn't care why a car ends up in his hands, as long as the chassis is good and the engine runs. Mateo starts the job, as always, checking the chassis first, then the door. As he uses a screwdriver to remove a piece of plastic, a fragment of broken glass falls from inside and pierces his left hand. Blood flows, dripping to the ground. He curses under his breath, pulls out the glass, and bandages the wound with a rag. As he sits down, Mateo notices that under the rear seat, there's a steel plate of a different color than the rest. It's not welded like the original structures of the Italian car. He turns on a flashlight, shines it up close, and carefully lifts the plate. A thin cover opens, revealing a small, empty compartment. Inside, there's a metal box covered in burned rubber, with black ash clinging to it. Mateo takes out the box and carefully opens it. Inside, he finds an undeveloped 35mm film reel, about 1.5 feet, half a meter long, tightly wound on an aluminum spool. 2 pieces of burned paper, one with a series of handwritten letters and numbers like a code, the other with a hand-drawn sketch of a mountainous area with 3 circular symbols marked in red. A pair of disposable medical gloves with dried blood that has turned dark brown. Without a word, Mateo closes the box. His hand still bandaged, he picks up the phone and calls Andres Silva, his friend, a photographer who worked in the technical imaging unit of the federal police. Andres, I have an old film reel, very old. I need to get it developed ASAP. Can you come to the shop? Andres doesn't ask many questions. He agrees immediately, saying he'll bring analog developing equipment. As for Mateo, he decides to return to La Cruz salvage junkyard. He can't ignore the feeling that this car was brought there in an unorthodox way. When he arrives, the junkyard is already closed. But through the fence, he sees that the small office is still lit. Mateo circles the place and taps on the window. Hector, the manager, opens the door halfway, surprised. What's wrong? You already took the car. Mateo replies concisely. I want to see the original file on the Gallardo. Previous owner's name, date of entry, anything related. Hector scratches his head. Look, that's weird. Today I opened the archive to search by VIN number, but all the files, both paper and electronic, are gone. Must have been taken by the Central Archive downtown. Or someone accidentally deleted them. Mateo asks, "Besides me, has anyone asked about the car in the last week?" Hector is quiet for a few seconds, then nods slightly. "Yeah. A man, about 40, light-skinned, combed hair, didn't look like a mechanic, asked about the burned red car, but I told him I'd already turned in the papers. He laughed, didn't say anything, and left." Mateo thanks him and leaves. In his head, every detail links together like a rusty chain. A supercar abandoned for more than 10 years, suddenly authorized for dismantling, and then all the files disappear in one day. That night, as Mateo cleans his hands, the phone rings. On the other end is Andres, his voice hoarse, agitated, as if he'd just been running. "Mateo," he pauses. "I think I just touched hell. You need to get over here, now." The dim red light in the dark room makes the space look blood-colored. On the wooden workbench covered with frosted glass, Andres Silva is wearing white gloves, carefully pulling each section of 35mm film from the reel. He works slowly, following the traditional developing method he learned when he worked in the technical imaging unit of the federal police. Each frame passes under the magnifying lens. Blotches of light gradually appear, first blurry, then sharper. On the 6th photo, Andres's hand stops. The frame shows a female face, young, long hair, dry and cracked lips. Her eyes are wide open, staring nowhere. In her pupils, a white round light is reflected, like a surgical lamp. Her mouth is slightly open. Her head is tilted, as if deliberately posed. He pushes back his chair, breathing slowly. He feels a chill down his spine. This isn't an ordinary portrait photograph. This is a setup. A few hours later, Mateo arrives. They both look at the developed photographs, organized in a thin plastic sleeve, placed on the light table. The first series is photos of 6 women. All their faces share similarities. Delicate, but expressionless. Pale skin, eyes staring directly at the camera, but empty like soulless dolls. They're standing in front of the same light gray wall. The background of the wall has an edge of old brick, only seen in old technical rooms. The second series of photos makes Mateo hold his breath. They're corpses, but they're not ordinary forensic photos. Each corpse is placed on a stainless steel table under a round, old-style lamp, the type of lamp used in surgeries before 2000. The skin of the abdomen is cut, the internal organs exposed, but with no traces of blood. Everything is arranged like a medical demonstration. In one photo, a hand is clearly seen holding a scalpel. The mirror reflection in the photo shows the characteristic grip of a Lamborghini, silver, with a small logo engraved below the leather. Mateo says, "This grip, it's only on Gallardo models before 2007. Andres nods. After a few minutes of silence, Mateo takes out the burned piece of paper with the hand-drawn map from his pocket. He places it on the table and then opens a satellite map of the outskirts of Hermosillo. He zooms in on the mountainous area northwest of the city. The map matches a mountainous zone near the old industrial area, where there was once an illegal drug production camp, abandoned after a military operation in 2009. On the real map, there's a small, unnamed warehouse, hidden among the weeds. Mateo circles the area and says, "If something was built, it could be here." That same night, Andres takes Mateo to Guadalajara, a few hours' drive away, to meet someone who helped him with missing persons investigations in the past. Sofia Aguilar, a former forensic doctor who worked in the Chiapas morgue, retired from the profession after a human trafficking case went unsolved. Sofia now lives in seclusion, away from the media. Her apartment is small, dark, smelling of old disinfectant. When Mateo places the photos on the wooden table, Sofia puts on her glasses and looks at each photo. Without a word, she takes a pen and circles 3 photos. The photos are of women's corpses, with similar abdominal and neck incisions, about 5 inches, 12 centimeters long, and not completely cut through, only slightly opening the tissue. Sofia says slowly, "This type of cut isn't for an autopsy. It's a way to open the tissue to keep the cells alive as long as possible. It can be used to measure biological electrical conduction or to check tissue reflexes." Mateo looks up. "Not for an autopsy?" Sofia looks him directly in the eyes. "No, it's for preservation. Someone doesn't just want to know what's inside the body. They want to keep the tissue alive as long as possible, not for medical reasons, but to observe something." Andres flips through the photos of the girls' portraits. He uses sketching software to run facial recognition. After a while, he looks at Mateo. This is Valeria Torres. She disappeared in Chihuahua in 2007. And this, Laura Medina, disappeared in Monterrey in 2009. The police never found the bodies. All these cases so far are completely stalled. And now they're here? Sofia remains silent. "They're files. I've seen them. But no one thought there was a connection." Mateo says quietly, "We're looking at something that isn't just kidnapping. This is research. It's experimentation on real people." Sofia looks again at one of the photos of the corpses. The light from the lamp illuminates the incision. Under the open skin, there's a strange line of tissue connection, like an experimental suture not meeting medical standards. On the computer screen, Andres is zooming in on each part of the corpse's photo. In one of them, the victim's abdomen is clearly visible. The skin of the abdomen is darkened, but by adjusting the contrast and flipping the photo horizontally, a series of characters engraved faintly just under the skin appear, small, superficial, almost only visible under special light. MZ, Chauffeur 17, 1930, C. Red. Andres turns the screen towards Mateo and Sofia. No one says anything for a few seconds. Sofia speaks first, concisely. "MZ, could be Mazatlan." Andres nods. He flips through his notebook, tracing the time the photo was taken, based on the old film format. The timeline coincides with the period from 2007 to 2009. 4/17 is the date, April 17th, and 1930 could be the time of the experiment, and at the end, C. Red. Could be the car code, car red, that burned red Gallardo. Mateo says, "So, the photos don't just record images. They also mark data for each test case." Sofia suggests checking the files of people who disappeared on April 17th in Mazatlan during the 3 years around that time. After nearly an hour of searching, Andres finds a case. Beatriz Gomez, 21 years old, 5'6", 1.68 months, tall, university student, disappeared on April 17th, 2008. The family reported it in Sinaloa, but there were no results from the investigation because there were no signs of coercion. Mateo opens one of the burned papers found in the Gallardo. On it, the abbreviated name is written BG168 calcium plus plus. Sophia confirms this is a model file. The perpetrator has collected, marked, tested, and then stored it by encryption on the victim's skin. Matteo returns to the Gallardo's control compartment, decides to remove the cover under the steering wheel. Inside, hidden beneath the old electrical wires, he finds a small device like a removable hard drive. An old GPS device, the type used for luxury cars before integrated GPS existed. Andres takes it to connect the device. The data inside isn't complete, but it still stores some travel coordinates, recorded more than 10 years ago. There are a total of 5 points, all located around the hills north of the state of Sinaloa. One point clearly shows an abandoned facility that used to be a pharmaceutical factory, closed in 2010 for suspicions of being linked to the illegal production of medical chemicals. The group leaves the next morning. The coordinates lead them to an abandoned drug warehouse in the middle of a dense scrub forest. The warehouse is large. The metal roof is rusted. The main door is closed with a rusty chain. Matteo uses a crowbar to open the lock. The interior is dark, silent. Only the birds are heard from afar. They turn on their flashlights and go further inside. On the ceiling, there's a small recessed camera pointing at the floor. Under the thick layer of dust, there are still traces, faded, indicating that someone had entered and left this place not long ago. In a corner of the house, a part of the concrete floor shows signs of L-shaped cracks, as if it had been patched. Sophia takes a hammer and starts hitting around the edge. Matteo uses a crowbar. After almost 20 minutes, a piece of concrete comes off, revealing an entrance to a small basement. Below, there's a stuffy, narrow, dark space. There's a ventilation system, but it's inactive. In the room, there's a series of stainless steel shelves, some tilted, others still with dust. Andres turns on a bright light, illuminating each row. On one side, there are infusion pumps, small water filters, stainless steel tanks with valves and airtight lids, the type of equipment used to preserve internal organs or blood plasma. On the wall, there's a diagram of the piping system with a felt-tip pen, marking the location of the samples, the infusion lines, and the oxygen usage time. A note nearby says, "After 72 hours with no reaction, transfer code D." Sophia says, he's not just experimenting. He's keeping records of the results, the procedures, as if he's creating a research document. Matteo approaches the corner of the room. There's a refrigerator of the type used in laboratories. The lock is broken. He opens it. Inside, there's a white doctor's coat with dried blood. In the coat pocket, embroidered clearly, it's written, E. Bensal GDL Medica. Sophia approaches and touches the coat. Her eyes look around, slowly. He shows it to Sophia. Her hand freezes without taking another step. After a while, she exclaims, her voice stuck in her throat. "He never died?" Matteo turns around. "You know him?" Sophia nods slightly. Then she says quickly, as if she doesn't want to remember, "When I was an intern, I followed Ben Sal's group in Guadalajara. He was a genius of anatomy, but the way he looked at patients, the way he operated as if he was dissecting dolls. Not people. Once, I caught him operating on a person who wasn't completely dead. No emergency, no documents. He called it fresh tissue preparation. I reported it to my superiors, but the file disappeared. That night, my car was rear-ended. I left the profession immediately after that, so I no longer had the opportunity to stop him." Matteo is quiet. In Sophia's eyes, there's no fear, just a certainty like metal at the bottom of a well. If this code is here, then he walked out of that fire and disappeared in his own way. The road to the second coordinate is a red dirt road. The grass grows up to the axles, going towards old farms far from the center of Sinaloa. This land belonged to a family that grew sugar cane, but it was foreclosed by the bank since 2011. No one lives around here. No electricity, no water, no recent footprints. The iron door in front of them is almost 6 feet, 2 meters tall, closed with a shiny stainless steel padlock, not matching the rust of the door frame. Behind the door, there's a greenhouse as big as a football field, with a steel structure and glass walls shattered into pieces. Mateo uses a crowbar, opening the padlock. When the door opens, a strong chemical smell hits their faces. A pungent and sweet smell, like formalin mixed with bleach. Sophia puts on a mask and says quietly, "This place has been thoroughly disinfected very recently." They enter. Inside the greenhouse, there's a plant support system about waist high, made of stacked PVC pipes. The roots of the plants are dry and curled. Withered leaves cover the ground. No functioning water system remains. But in the center of the greenhouse, there's a rectangular block surrounded by thick plastic sheets with a fixed aluminum frame. A small room within a large room. Like an improvised laboratory, Mateo opens the plastic sheet. The light from the flashlight shines inside. A stainless steel bed is in the middle, with leather straps securing wrists and ankles, still with dried blood. Next to it, there's an infusion bottle. The bottle casing has turned yellow, but the label is still visible. NaCl 500 ml 2021. In the corner of the ceiling, there's a mounted camera, but without a recorder. Only a hanging cable. Sophia enters, observing every detail closely. On the wall, there's an A3-sized map taped with transparent tape. Handwritten symbols with black ink. A16, FLT3, sufficient calcium, does not react at temperatures of 93 degrees 34. Retest endothelial pH after 8 hours. She turns around and says, "They've been conducting clinical experiments, but without anesthesia, without sterilization, just observation. Even more horrible than a prison." Andres finds a scalpel with a plastic handle and a broken blade in the corner of the room, with recent rust. Examining the plastic sheet protecting the room, he discovers an incision about 10 inches, 25 centimeters long, from the inside, as if someone had tried to break an escape route. He says quietly, "Someone was locked up here, and they were awake. They knew and tried to escape." Sophia approaches to check the blood around the cable lock. The color of the blood is darkened, but the splatter on the ceiling and wall forms a fan, showing struggle, strong pulls, even possibly panic. Mateo looks at the blood, then looks at the cut plastic sheet. He doesn't say anything for a few seconds. Then, suddenly, he turns around and rubs his eyes with his hand. There's no dust, but he keeps rubbing. "If someone had opened the door then, just a little earlier," he says quietly. Then he turns around, squeezing the flashlight in his hand as if he wants to break it. Back in the car, it's already getting dark. Andres opens the laptop on the hood, connecting to the old GPS he just removed from the Gallardo. The signal is intermittent, but the satellite map finally appears. He quickly types in the coordinates still stored in the device, a total of 5 points scattered around the hills of Sinaloa. When the points are marked on the map, Andres starts connecting them with straight lines. A shape appears. It's not a circle. Nor is it a sawtooth shape. A spiral, not perfect, but clearly intentional. Each point is evenly spaced. A rote. A chain of lures. Mateo looks at the screen for a few seconds, then suddenly slams the hood hard, causing the laptop to shift. They're guiding us. Each coordinate is just bait. If we follow each point like this, we'll always be one step behind him. He takes a deep breath, steps back, rubs his face with his hands, his eyes reddening. I'm tired of just arriving to witness the consequences. There has to be another way. Something he left behind. A mistake. A loophole. No one says anything. The wind starts to blow, bringing the smell of wet earth from the forest behind them. Andres returns to the laptop, zooming out. He looks closely at the location of the points, then switches to extended satellite terrain mode. The light blue light from the screen is reflected in his eyes. Then, suddenly, he stops. His hand touches the center of the spiral, a land without a label, without construction structures shown, without street names, only recording a faint line, Rancho Escondido. Sophia raises her head. How far away is that? Almost 40 miles, 60 kilometers to the south, says Andres quietly. And it's right in the center of the spiral. Andres whispers, its name means Hidden Ranch. It's not registered in the property database. No owner name since 2012. Mateo opens his phone and calls an acquaintance in the construction industry. After a few minutes, he returns. That place used to belong to a medical company, but then it was transferred back and forth. No one's really in charge. Silently, Sophia takes a pistol from her back pocket, loads it, and puts it back in her belt. She doesn't look at anyone, only says slowly, if we go there, we have to be prepared to find something alive that shouldn't be. As the afternoon sun retreats from the edge of the forest, the 3-story mansion appears as a block of somber stone in the valley. Rancho Escondido has no fence. The grass grows up to your knees. The roof tiles are rotten. The windows on the upper floor are covered with black plastic sheets. But the backyard has an empty swimming pool with unusually clean tiles, as if someone is still secretly maintaining the place. Andres sets up the tripod, turns on the infrared camera. The image on the screen scans every square meter. In the center of the backyard, under the bottom of the empty pool, there's an oval heat signature, a uniform, stable heat source. Not large, but certainly not natural. There's electricity underneath, and someone's been here recently. Rancho Escondido belonged to Leandro Medina, a businessman suspected of being involved with clandestine medical organizations. In 2011, he died in an office fire. Since then, the assets have been frozen, but no one has claimed Rancho Escondido. They surround the mansion. Through an abandoned stable, Mateo discovers a horizontal steel door near the ground, covered in dirt and moss. The door has no handle, only a shiny black fingerprint sensor next to it, a device too modern for a place abandoned for more than 10 years. With no other option, Mateo uses a crowbar. Andres helps, drilling the hinges. After almost 20 minutes, the door opens. Below, there's a sloping stone hallway about 5 feet, 1.5 meters wide, sensor lights gradually turning on with each step. There's no dust, no cobwebs. It seems that this place is still used or checked periodically. The walls are covered in gray, shiny marble. The air is cool. The sound of footsteps echoing in the long hallway creates a repetitive sound, constant like a heartbeat. At the end of the road, there's a large control room, with 2 metal doors leading to the left and right. In the main room, there's a row of cabinets containing servers, some still blinking. The middle screen is dark, but when Andres connects the device, the system shows an old icon. Red door. Live tissue storage, secured entry. He says, "We're looking at the operation center for the entire test chain. All the data from the other points is stored here." In a secondary drive, they find a data file called Subjects AG. Each subject comes with a separate file. Portrait photo, detailed biological data, height, skeleton ratio, weight, feeding schedule, behavior under isolation conditions. Sophia flips through the pages. A column records the tests: reflex emotion conduction, amygdala response capture, skin sensation maintenance time under red light. At the end of each file, there's a calendar. Injection, tissue exam, neurological evaluation, repeated every 72 hours, precise to the minute. Mateo stares at the screen. He kneels down, supporting one hand on a chair, the other hand clenched. He cultivates them like living tissue. He snatches the file from Sophia, flipping through each page continuously as if he can't believe it. His hands are shaking. On page 5, he looks up. This isn't experimentation. This is animal husbandry. He records every convulsion. He records the rate of pupil dilation under each band of light. He throws the file on the table, knocking over pens and papers. He wants to reconstruct every human reaction from scratch. Sophia steps forward and puts her hand on Mateo's shoulder, but he takes it off, not violently, only lowering his head, squeezing his forehead. We're looking at a person who used to be a doctor. Now he's something that no longer belongs to humans. The door on the left opens to a cold storage room. Inside, there are 3 stainless steel suspended animation tanks, of the type used in live human tissue experiments. All 3 are empty, but the oxygen and infusion supply systems are still working. The green lights indicate no errors. The solution containers below are still full, indicating that someone stopped using them recently. Sophia opens a stainless steel cabinet on the wall, pulls out a compartment containing test tubes. Among them, there's a tube containing fresh blood, still with red blood cells. Labeled G2 resistant, 2.5 milliliters, 98.96 DGF, 3720. Sophia says, this person is still alive or died less than 48 hours ago. The code G2 could be G sample second time. Resistant means there's been an immune reaction. They're testing biological tolerance cyclically. Andres patiently restores some of the video data from the secondary storage drive. The system reports errors continuously, but finds a 47-second clip. The image is blurry but clear. A naked girl, soaked, crawls out of a suspended animation tank, her hands tied with rope, but alive. Her lips are purple, her breathing is intermittent. She looks directly at the camera on the ceiling, trembling. The last recorded audio is her whisper, hoarse. I still remember the sunlight. The screen goes dark. The data stops there. Sophia turns around, her hand squeezing the chair back until her knuckles turn white. Andres steps back, swallows, his eyes still fixed on the screen, as if he wants to leave but his feet can't move. Mateo lowers his head, supporting both hands on the table, breathing heavily through his teeth. Between his palms, a small drop of sweat falls on the file. No one moves. Only the sound of the hard drive spinning and the light of the screen shining on each line. Test 14. Maintain sensory response in the lower lumbar area through low-pressure stimulation. Subject responds in 38 minutes. Each line like a nail hitting the silence. No one dares to touch the keyboard again. Outside, the sun has completely set. Underground, the LED lights continue to work soullessly. Everything here, every experiment, every arrangement, is meant to keep something alive, not to save, but to control. Then, the electrical system suddenly shuts down just as the video ends. The entire cellar sinks into thick darkness. The sound of the ventilation fan stops completely, but the sound of the small pump, the type used for fluid supply systems, still hisses uniformly in the background. Only a few seconds later, from somewhere below, a sound echoes. Crash! The resonant metallic sound makes the entire cellar vibrate slightly. A steel door behind them has slammed shut. It's unclear whether by the wind or by the automated system. Mateo immediately turns around, takes out the flashlight, and shines it towards the back hallway. His hand has already slipped to the handle of the screwdriver in his pocket. Andre steps back, startled, squeezing the strap of his backpack, his eyes quickly scanning around. Sophia pulls out a gun from her belt, pointing low, without saying a word. Her heart beats fast, not because of the noise, but because the memory of the steel door in the old experiment room reappears. 1 second. 2 seconds. There's no more noise, only the sound of the pump hissing slightly from below uniform, cold as blood flowing through a pipe. Mateo says in a hoarse voice, "Someone or something doesn't want us to leave." Then we have to dig deeper to find out what they're trying to hide. Following the light of the flashlight, they grope their way down the main hallway. Behind the storage room, Mateo finds a technical-type steel ladder leading to a deeper level, not in the underground design. The lower level is a series of isolated rooms, with thick walls covered in gray rubber, no windows, no light, no echo. The space feels cramped. A door is at the end of the row, closed with a T-shaped iron bar. The surface is rusted, but the lock is shining as if it's just been oiled. Mateo takes the crowbar. He turns around and looks at Sophia, then nods slightly. Click! The bar opens after 2 strong hits. When the door opens, a gust of cold air hits their faces, bringing a smell of disinfectant so strong that it stings their eyes, air that has been compressed for years. Inside, there's a small room, less than 86 square feet, 8 square meters. Walls painted white, low ceiling. The flashlight light sweeps across every trace of dirt and mold, spreading like fingerprints. Andres takes a half step back, squeezing the flashlight. Then, a soft sound. It's not clear if it's wind or breath. Sophia goes in first. She shines the light into a corner of the room. There, a woman is sitting huddled in the corner, her back against the wall, her hands hugging her knees. Reduced to bones. Long, tangled hair, gray skin like wax. Her eyes are wide open, her gaze doesn't blink. She doesn't look at anyone. She's still alive, and she knows they're there. Mateo doesn't enter immediately. He stops at the threshold, his arms hanging down. His throat goes dry. In his life, he'd never seen anyone so alive, so abandoned to life. The surgeon of light is still here. He hasn't left. The girl's voice trembles, each word as if extracted from a rough, dry throat. Her eyes widen, fixed on the flashlight's light. Her body shrinks when Mateo takes another step. The girl is called Inés, She's about 30 years old. Her patient gown is torn, her thin shoulders protrude. Her hair is stuck to her neck, her skin is grayish under the dim white light. She shudders when Andres coughs softly. She retreats to the corner, her back hits the wall. Her hands rise to cover her face. "No, don't take me again. I've heard footsteps many times. But no one came. No one really came." Her voice breaks. She breathes heavily, tears running down her face. After a while, Sophia sits down, puts down her weapon, puts the flashlight aside, and speaks softly. "We're not them. You're safe now." Inés stops. She stares into Sophia's eyes, trying to distinguish truth from lies. Then, like a dam that breaks after 8 years of holding water, she bursts into sobs. "I thought no one would come. I thought I'd die here, alone, without a name. No one would remember me." She sits on the floor. Mateo looks at the ceiling, clenching his jaw without saying anything. After a long time, when her breathing calms down, Inés begins to tell her story. "They didn't hurt me. They never beat me. But they injected me with medicine. They put lights directly in my eyes, red lights, blue lights, yellow lights. Each color had a different question. They made me count. The last time I saw the sunlight, when I felt the wind, when I walked under the sun. I had to tell the story over and over again, many times. Then they recorded it, measured my heart, measured my eyes. They recorded every sound I made when I cried." Mateo looks at Sophia. She nods, speaking quietly. "A form of brainwashing." Andres asks, "But why did they do that?" Sophia replies, "To create a living body, without memory, without resistance, a completely empty person, easy to reset, ideal for extreme applications." Inés says that each subject was monitored to determine the moment when the last memory of natural light disappeared. They asked her what day, what time she remembered seeing the sun for the last time, then that day was repeated continuously until she could no longer remember what color it was. "I had forgotten what sunlight looked like," he said. "Then I was ready." She uses the word he clearly. Inés calls him the surgeon of light. Sophia checks Inés's pulse and cornea, then instructs Mateo to lift her. But before leaving the room, Inés grabs Sophia's hand, whispering, "There are 2 more people. They are alive. But he took them away. He left no trace." She says that Ben Saul is not only alive, but that he still communicates through a private satellite device. Without using phones, without the internet. Only once a week, she heard his voice come from the intercom, saying things like, "G3 data complete. Prepare sample transfer. The main station will close. Move to the final facility." Checking the wall behind the stainless steel shelf, Mateo discovers an empty compartment with a magnet. Inside, a small steel box. He opens it. Inside, he finds a passport still in a protective paper. Username, Dr. Gael Rivas, Mexican nationality, issued in Ciudad Juarez. A first-class airplane ticket. Route, Hermosillo, Mexico City, Vancouver, Canada. Departure date, in 4 days. Andres is startled. He's leaving. He hasn't stopped. He's moving to another place. This is just a test point. Sophia tightens the gun in her hand, looking at Inés as Mateo helps her out of the basement. "We don't have time anymore." The electronic board at Mexico City International Airport shows bright red letters. Vancouver Flight 237 took off 14:35. Mateo clenches his fist. Andres takes out the plane ticket from his pocket, compares it. It matches the time, date, and number. There's no doubt. He, under the name Dr. Gail Rivas, boarded the plane 3 hours ago. "He's gone to Canada," says Mateo in a low voice. "He's already started the next part." The group quickly meets in a small cafe at the airport. Andres immediately calls Camila Torres, a senior officer of the Mexican Federal Police, who was his partner in dismantling human trafficking networks to the United States many years ago. It only takes 10 minutes for Camila to respond. She understands the situation and agrees to help by activating an interstate emergency coordination procedure, using the reason of investigating a suspect in counterfeiting medical documents and transporting living people without permission. "I'll inform the RCMP," says Camila on the phone. "We'll arrange the legalization of your group's identities so that you can be present in Vancouver as soon as possible." Through the file of Gael Rivas at the Canadian Immigration Agency, the group discovers that he has registered to attend a scientific conference at Vancouver General Hospital. To be held that week topic: New Directions in Histology in Sensory Neuronal Regeneration. The title of his presentation sends chills down their spines. Restructuring the nervous system after resetting the base sensory memory. Sophia looks at the title of the presentation without blinking. This is the core theory that Ben Saul publicly rejected in a debate in 2008. But then, he silently rewrote everything, shifting to building artificial sensations from controlled memories. Andres nods. He used to say if memories can be reconstructed, then emotions can be designed, and humans can become a product. That same night, the group flies to Vancouver. While waiting for approval for support from the RCMP, Camila sends them the data from the conference attendee list. Under the section, Medical Photographer, Experimental Tissue Technician, there's a name, Dr. Gael Rivas. No personal photo, only a passport confirmation symbol. But Andres discovers that the passport number matches the one they saw in the steel box at Rancho Escondido. The next morning, the RCMP arranges for the group a temporary workspace in the technical area of the conference building. They don't have direct access to Gael Rivas, but they're allowed to monitor the transit areas, record, and filter movement data. While they wait, Inés, who's being treated in the attached medical room, calls Sophia. "He doesn't work alone. Someone always comes to check. He doesn't wear a mask. He says he's the sponsor." Sophia asks, "Do you remember his face?" Inés shakes her head, but then slowly, he has a tattoo on his wrist. Like a hook, a circle. I think it's the symbol of a bank. This information makes Andres return to the original film reel. He uses image filtering software to track each frame. In an old photo taken from the reflection angle in a stainless steel mirror where someone is holding the victim's arm to fix it during the photo session, Andres magnifies the part of the wrist in the photo. Very blurry, but there's clearly a tattoo. A small circle, divided by 3 parallel lines, the symbol of Banca Sano Horizonte, a private bank that has been involved in many funds for unauthorized medical projects in Central America. Sophia looks at the screen. Slowly, Sophia looks at the screen. Slowly. We're not just chasing a madman. We're touching a network. A structure, a market. Mateo gets up, his eyes fixed on the RCMP monitoring screen. A red dot is moving through the backstage area of the conference. the exact location where Dr. Gail Rivas checked in that morning. "He's not alone," Andres whispers. "And he has a bigger plan. Here." The Vancouver International Convention Center glitters with bright white lights. Guests stroll among booths displaying histology photographs, simulations of internal organs using AI technology, and projections of neuronal structures using 3D imaging. Mateo and Sofia walk silently through the crowd. Andres is in the technical coordination area, his eyes glued to the screen connected to the RCMP's feed. "Booth number 12A, he says into the earpiece. Photo in the center. Something's not right. The group heads to booth 12A. A white sign prints the name, Rivas Medical Imaging, Base Sensory Restructuring through Multidimensional Imaging. Among the large-scale printed photos, one in particular hangs in a darkened corner. An image of a young woman's face, her eyes wide, her lips slightly curved, but the expression empty. Sofia approaches, her eyes unblinking. "This isn't a 3D model," she says. "This is a real photo. One of the films we developed. But it was transformed using image processing software to turn it into an artificial image. The victim is the girl in the fourth corpse photo. But here, she's described as a neuronal structure model artificially simulated from real human anatomy." Immediately, Andres deploys the plan, posing as an investor representing a medical research fund interested in emotion-controlled technology through Baselight. He sends a request to meet privately with Dr. Gail Rivas to discuss personal funding. Only after 30 minutes does a response arrive in the encrypted inbox Andres has set up. "Private meeting, technical level B2, Sienna room, 1700. At the appointed time, Andres enters the Sienna room, a secondary meeting room without direct camera surveillance. Inside, the man waiting is wearing a long gray coat, thin-rimmed glasses, a slender build, and graying hair. Andres sits opposite him, placing the fake file on the table. The other man looks at him silently for a few seconds, then smiles. "They say investing in emotions is a gamble. But if you seek me out, you're sure to win this bet." The voice, the build, the way he sits. Esteban Bensal. It's him, without a doubt. His face has been almost completely reconstructed with plastic surgery. But just under the left jawbone, the thin, curved scar of about an inch, 2 cm, is still there, just like in the accident file photo from 10 years ago. The conversation lasts 8 minutes. During that time, Bensal unwittingly reveals a clue. Each person with erased memory is a clean data layer. No contamination, no history. We use them to create a library of prototype responses, emotional reflexes, skin reactions, facial twitches. Everything's encoded for application in medical AI to analyze patient communication. He pauses, then looks directly at Andres. Pure emotion can only be built on a foundation of controlled memories. You're seeing the first generation of artificial emotion. At that moment, Camila Torres and the RCMP team burst in, orders echoing throughout the basement. "Everyone freeze! Hands in the air!" Benzel is startled. His eyes quickly scanning the room, the look immediately changes, from calm to an obvious bloodlust. "No, not now." He pulls a small control device from his coat, pressing it repeatedly. From the corner of the ceiling, the lighting system starts flashing random colors, and the speakers begin emitting white noise, making everyone cover their ears. Andres rushes to subdue him, but Bensal grabs the laptop screen, pulls out the external hard drive, and slams it against the side of the table, screaming, "You don't understand! This is the new neurology. We must start from clean memory. Sophia doesn't hesitate. She runs, striking him with the butt of her gun. Ben Saul resists, scratching her neck, causing both of them to fall to the ground. Camilla pulls them apart, pointing her gun directly at Bensel's forehead. One more step, and I'll pull the trigger. Blood flows from his mouth, but he's still smiling, a twisted, distorted smile, as if he's still experimenting on himself. I've built the clean memory, and you just killed it with dirty light. His laptop is confiscated. The RCMP tries to back up the data, but all the encryption systems are set to automatically wipe when the original signal is lost. Every file disappears in an instant. Finally, only one file remains that wasn't erased in time. Case survivor Sophia opens the file. The first line only says, Alpha Ines, Beta not completed, Gamma no response. In Ben Saul's personal luggage, in addition to a fake passport and a set of hospital clothes, they find an old metal key with the code C102 Coquitlam Andres opens the local map. Sophia glances at it, then stops. That place is an orphanage that's been abandoned since 1995. A restricted zone because it's linked to unsolved child disappearances. She's silent for a few seconds, then says, maybe that's the origin. The place where it started. The next morning, under the cold fog and dim police lights, the RCMP team, coordinated with Camila Torres, guides the group to the abandoned zone C102 on the eastern edge of Coquitlam. The iron gate is rusted, but the lock was recently replaced. A thermal camera system is deployed remotely, showing a small heat source uniform like a human heartbeat in the western basement of the house. Mateo looks at the flickering light on the monitoring device, gripping the crowbar. We're not here to look for more clues. Today is to end it. The assault team splits into two directions. One group approaches the front, the other group circles around from the grass football field at the rear. Camilla signals, "Go! Crash!" The rotten wooden door is kicked down. The entire group enters. Inside, there's a long hallway, peeling walls, hanging wires. A smell of formalin and stench floats in the air dense. In the basement, Mateo discovers a steel door with a fingerprint code. Andres uses an electronic unlocking device. It takes him 3 tries to succeed. The door opens. Inside, there's an airtight white room, completely soundproof. 2 stainless steel beds are side by side. Each bed has a woman lying on it, thin, with oxygen masks covering their faces, their hands slightly restrained. Both are alive. One opens her eyes as the flashlight moves. Her lips move silently. The other trembles completely when she hears the sound of approaching shoes. Sophia removes an oxygen mask, leans in and says softly, "We came to take you out of here. It's over." One of them starts to cry, but still tries to raise her hand in awkward movement, as if to embrace anyone present. Andres helps her sit up, but she's too weak, so he sits beside her, lightly squeezing her thin shoulders, letting her lean on him. "It's okay. They'll never return." The other says intermittently, but clearly, "I heard a noise 3 days ago. I thought it was a dream. Now, there are real people." Mateo is standing behind, his eyes reddened, unblinking. He turns away, not letting anyone see his hands clenching tightly together, trembling in bursts. On the wall of the room, there are chalk letters scribbled, "Is the sun still there?" 3 months later, the Supreme Court of the province of British Columbia. The courtroom is crowded. Recording cameras are placed in 3 corners. The trial is classified as potentially psychologically disturbing, limited only to the media and approved family members of the victims. Esteban Bensal enters the room. He wears a high-security prisoner jumpsuit, but his hair is trimmed, his chin shaved, his face expressionless. Every step is slow, sure, and confident. When the judge asks him to confirm his identity, he doesn't answer immediately. He smiles. "My name? Today you call me prisoner. Tomorrow you'll learn my theory in medical school." A small "O" resonates from the back. Camila Torres clenches her hand into a fist. When the prosecutor shows the videos extracted from the basement monitoring system, images of subjects being forced to respond to light, Bensal smiles slightly, tilting his head. "I didn't torture anyone. I removed the noise from the human nervous system." That girl? She heard the rain for the first time in complete silence. It was a pure moment. Something you don't understand at all. The defense attorney doesn't stand up. He refuses to speak on behalf of his client because his client doesn't cooperate legally. A recording is played. Bensal speaking while monitoring a subject. Women's skin is thinner, conducts better. They are sensitive to light, and emotions are reflected more clearly than in men. If we need a clean emotional base to reset the neuronal model, we must start with the most favorable biological body. He was talking to himself, in the darkness, and he noted that down in a monotone voice as if he were writing a surgical diary. When it's his turn for the final statement, he doesn't ask for mercy. He doesn't ask for leniency. "If you call me a monster, then think. I have created the purest reflection of the human being. An individual without society, without memory, without gender. And I have given you new light." The judge bangs the gavel. His voice is icy. Esteban Bensal, the defendant, is sentenced to life imprisonment, without the possibility of parole, for 17 counts of unlawful detention, illegal human experimentation, and comprehensive infringement of human rights. As he's being escorted out, Bensal turns his head to look at the audience section. Inez is sitting there. She doesn't blink. She just looks at him. He says one last sentence, small but loud enough for the camera to record it. "You still remember the sunlight, don't you?" 9 months later, a quiet suburb in Sonora. In a field of golden grass, under the soft afternoon light, 3 women are sitting in a small circle. Light jackets, bare feet, both hands resting behind them, their faces looking towards the sky. They don't say anything. But from time to time, one of them reaches out her hand, as if to touch the air, then sighs. Their hands still tremble, but their eyes, for the first time in many years, have a ray reflected from the sky. Inez now lives with a distant aunt in Hermosillo. She's being cared for in a psychological rehabilitation center for war victims because no place in the health system of Mexico or Canada has a specific name for survivors of emotional memory erasure. The other 2, Maria and Clara, are learning to react to natural light again. They practice sitting in front of the window every morning, with their hands on their hearts, closing their eyes, and whispering to the rhythm of their breath. Mateo doesn't answer any calls from the press. He doesn't accept interviews. He doesn't appear on television. He doesn't share a hero's perspective. In the small workshop where he still fixes cars, the only photo is framed, placed on a wooden shelf next to his desk. In the photo, 3 women sitting in the sun with their backs leaning against each other. One is closing her eyes. One is raising her head. The other is smiling. Their hands still tremble, but they don't hide it. Under the afternoon light, the photo has a stillness. No one is crying, no one is saying anything. But the light covers their faces as if it's healing. Mateo often sits and looks at the photo on sleepless nights. Not to remember, but to believe that something has returned, even if it's just light. The story ends without a voice, only with the light returning and an anonymous camera, somewhere far away, still recording. Surely you have ever looked at a person and wondered what has made their eyes so empty. There are wounds that don't bleed, but never heal. There are memories that don't disappear, but are intentionally stripped away. The story you have just read is a construction of many real cases that have been forgotten, hidden, or never brought to light. The names of the characters, the places, and the details have been changed to protect the identities of the surviving victims. But what you see is the truth, told in a language that the human heart can feel. Silence, light, and memory. We not only tell a chilling story, but a testament to what was once considered unbelievable, impossible. Therefore, if you feel that this needs to be spread, please share it on WhatsApp. Send it to a friend you trust. Maybe they once kept silent out of fear. Maybe someone turned off their voice, or maybe they are trying to remember something very important that they themselves have forgotten. There are things that can only heal when they are told. We can't save everyone, but we can start by not turning a blind eye. Send this story. Who knows, somewhere there is someone waiting to be heard to find the light for themselves.